In this video, we're going to be talking about forming a corporation. What are the processes and procedures for you to do that? A corporation is a legal entity. The purpose of that entity is to conduct business separate and apart from the individuals that own the corporation. This allows for multiple layers of benefit. First of all, you can get limited liability protection from lawsuits and claims where your personal assets are protected separate and apart from the business assets. Second, the business can do work on its own so that if something happens to you, you aren't needed and the business can continue to operate and flow even without your presence. A corporation is able to act on its own, which means it can own property, hire individuals, and enter into contracts without your individual involvement. Having a business allows for credibility and other assets that an individual could not and does not have. So what are the key characteristics of a corporation? First, it is a separate legal entity, separate and apart from the individuals, so it will have its own tax ID number and an own government registration. It does have limited liability protections, which allows for protection of your personal assets separate and apart from the business. Corporations can't die. They can be terminated, but they live until someone chooses to terminate them, which means it has a perpetual existence, not tied to an individual owner. With a corporation, you are going to have shares. And with those shares, you have the ability to sell, transfer, partner, and do all kinds of different collective business operations not available to an individual or a sole proprietor. With the corporation, you have officers and directors, which allows for a management structure separate and apart from an individual as well. When operating a business as a corporation, you have multiple different tax strategies available to you as well. You can form a C corporation where the corporation is separately taxed from the individual owners, or an S corporation where the taxes flow to the individual owners. Additionally, there are things like nonprofit corporations which allow for avoidance of tax if certain criteria are met. The first step in forming a corporation is to file articles of incorporation. Those are filed in California with the Secretary of State. The next key component to any corporation are the bylaws. The bylaws set the operating rules and procedures for the company and allow for management and control. Corporations are separately taxed and thus do need to obtain an employer identification number, which is a tax number for separate taxation from the federal and state government. One of the benefits of a corporation is that it has the ability to have separate credit from the individual owners, which allows for the raising of capital and funds in the right circumstances. Corporations are also a good way to own real estate, where it allows for protection of the owners from potential liability associated with the property. Thank you for taking your time to watch this video. If you have any questions or concerns, please feel free to reach out to us. We'd love to talk to you.